If in your company you have a notice period of 60 to 90 days and you want to switch your job and you're struggling to find any job because most of them says they need somebody who can join immediately or within 30 days, or you already got an offer letter but you're struggling to negotiate your notice period with your current company, then this video is for you, because I'm going to let you know how to get your resume shortlisted even if you have longer notice period, and also I'll share the steps that you must take to get early relieving from your current company in case you have a new offer that wants you to join within 30 days or less. So if that is something that interests you, keep on watching. So let's start with the pro tip so that your resume doesn't get dumped just because your profile says you have a notice period of 60 to 90 days. What you have to do is in your resume or on naukri.com or on the job portals, you have to mention that your notice period is 30 days and in bracket you can write negotiable. So now what this does is, if your profile gets shortlisted basis your skills, whatever you have mentioned, and you reach the interview stage, and then basis your skill set you perform really well, you get the offer, and then you can say that officially your notice period is so many days, say for example 60 to 90 days, but it's negotiable to 30 days, or you will try your best to get relieving in 30 days. That always works most of the time, so there's no harm in trying. So why I'm telling you to put your notice period as 30 days negotiable upfront is so that your profile doesn't get just filtered out just because you have those 60 to 90 days mentioned. At least some human, some recruiter, some manager should take a look at it, at your skills, and that part should come later, because that can be managed. You can get early relieving if you follow the steps that I'm just going to share now. Okay, so the steps, or you can say tips, to get an early relieving from your current manager is: number one, so whenever you put down your papers, always first speak to your manager one-on-one. It can be in person if you're working from office, or it can be on call if you're working remotely. Whatever the case may be, you have to speak to your manager directly about the situation, that you have got some other opportunity and you would like to put down your papers. You have to take that discussion first and then put your formal resignation. But wait, you do not have to disclose that you want an early relieving at this stage. Please do not do that mistake, because it's a kind of shock to your manager and he or she might not be expecting it. On top of that, if you burden them with the request of early relieving, it might not be received very well and can harm you later, as in you might not get early relieving. So one, you must have to do the discussion, but you have to wait. You do not have to yet tell them that you want to leave early. And why this discussion is important before you put down your papers is because if you take the route of official resignation, as in if you put your resignation directly on the tool, or you put your resignation via email like an official thing, then that manager will also handle it officially, which means they will give you relieving only after the completion of the notice period. Because you have to understand that the early relieving is a kind of favor that you want to ask. At least in the mind of that manager, you might think it differently, but at least in the mind of the manager, it's a favor that he or she might be doing for you. So you have to take them in confidence right from the moment you decide to part your ways. Step number two, directly or indirectly start working on finding a replacement of yourself. It can be taking as many interviews as possible. It can be referring somebody who can fit at your role. It can be doing the knowledge transfer sessions, the KT sessions, as many as possible, so that the person to whom you are giving the KT, that starts delivering while you are still on the job. Because guys, remember this, companies do not like to pay two people for the same task. If somebody else has already started doing what you were doing, they do not want to keep you longer, believe me on that. So make sure that if you want an early relieving, you work on this step. As I said, it can be directly or it can be indirectly. It will play in your favor in a huge way. Whether you realize it or not, it is a big factor. Point number three, if you are a dedicated spoke to any client where the client heavily depends on you and just love working with you, and every time they want you to be there on the projects that they have given to the company, then make sure you slowly start introducing a new team member to them. As in, you can say that this person is working with you, and slowly you start building the rapport of that team member with this client, so much so that this client becomes comfortable you being out of work or out of office because they know this new team member will be able to help. Understand it clearly, guys. Your notice period is not the time to prove your worth to the client or to prove your dependency, as in like how much dependency the client has on me. That is not the time, because the more dependency you show, the more delayed your exit will be, your date of relieving will be. So make sure that you introduce a new team member and make that team member comfortable with the client, because companies or maybe your manager, they will shy away from disclosing this news to them that the most reliable employee of that client is leaving. They will shy away from disclosing this news to them. So before the news goes out to them, you have to make sure that you bring your replacement here as well. You introduce somebody and then make that client comfortable with that person in case you want to have a smoother and an earlier exit. Now the next point is that you have to meet your manager 101 once more. When it's around 10 to 15 days and in parallel you are following all the points that I just shared, what you have to do is you have to meet your manager 101, and now you have to disclose your request of an early relieving to your manager. But make sure that you do it assertively and not with an attitude, oh, I can pay and get relieved, I can pay for the 2 months and then I can get the relieving. Do not go that way, because you paying that amount is not helping the company or the manager. Whether you realize this or not, your company or your team is going to lose out on much more amount with your absence than what you could pay for that notice period. So that will not work out if you're trying to do it in style and attitude. So make sure that you do it assertively and as a request. It should go as a request, and you should tell your manager that if feasible, you would want to get an early relieving, and you would do your best to make sure that all the transition, all the work is kind of taken care before you leave. So do on that note. And then even if your managers say that, okay, we will see, let me see, if he or she responds like that and doesn't even give a clear indication, still take it very positively and then thank the person, saying that thank you so much for considering it and I'm hoping for a favorable response. Now what this does is it will trigger that person that you are trying your best, you are trying everything in your potential to make this thing happen, and you expect the same from that person. So it builds an emotional and subtle pressure on that person's mind to relieve you early, like on humanity grounds. I have seen this working really well, whoever follows this. So make sure you do this as a next step. And the next point is speed up for your in-hand task. This simply means that whatever in-hand tasks or bucket list you have to try to finish it as quickly as possible. You got to speed it up. And if you are assigned to a project which is in its final stages, it's coming to an end, the chances are the company will not find a replacement for you. So they will expect you to finish the project yourself and then move on. In these cases, people get it really wrong. They think that the company will find a replacement and then you can leave early, because it's very unlikely that you get a replacement in that case. So the sooner you finish it, the sooner you'll get the relieving. So you have to speed up and finish the in-hand tasks soon. Now the next step on the list is that while doing all of this, if you still see that the manager has not conveyed anything and you have waited enough, manager is not making any move towards telling you your last date of working, your relieving date, then you have to make a move. You have to put a reminder. You have to put a reminder again very assertively, and you have to let your managers know that so much work has happened and you have completed your KT. Project is almost at its end stage. Nothing much is left to support, and you show that how deliverables are already taken care of, and chances are most of the time the manager will take it very positively and he or she will act on that reminder very soon. You'll get to know your last working day and it will be much sooner than you realize. As I said, companies do not like paying two people for the same job, so they are going to relieve you very soon. Now let's move to the part where you already hold an offer and for some reason your company is not relieving you early and you need to request your new employer for the extension of your date of joining. How you negotiate that, how you communicate that. Now here people mostly share two type of concerns with me that I've seen in the comment section, in the email, all of that. So the first question that I get is, can they even put this request to the new employer that they want to join little later than what the date in offer letter is? guys, you can absolutely request that, and no, it won't affect your offer with the company. You are just simply putting a request, trying to see whether they will say yes or no. There is no harm in asking anything. You are not saying that you want to join later, and if they deny, you will not join. You are not saying that. You are simply putting a request that please see if it is feasible, then can you please extend my date of joining by a week, or maybe 10 days, or maybe 20 days, so on. So it's definitely okay to ask. Whatever their response would be, yes or no, you will get it. They are not going to say that your offer stands cancelled just because you put a request for extension of your date of joining. So you can definitely request this, and you do not even realize most of the time the new employer will say yes. Why? Because they do not want to repeat the entire process of shortlisting somebody, interviewing somebody, offering somebody. It takes a lot of time and effort. So it's better to wait for the person 10 more days than to repeat the entire process again. So they will say yes. Now comes the second concern, where the company says no, that they are not okay with you extending your date of joining, because it might happen that your current employer is not leaving you, and you still have to serve like 45 to 60 days of notice, and date of joining is just coming nearer. So in this case, what you can do is you can pitch yourself as an independent contractor for the time being to the new employer. What you can say is, because for whatever reason your company is not giving you relieving, and absconding is not your way, you do not want to do that. So what you suggest is that after your office hours, you can work for this new company as an independent contractor. You can convince them that you're really interested in working with that company on that project. That's why you're willing to work for that company for the initial 30 to 45 days as an independent contractor, so that in this meantime you can finish your KT session, know hows of the process, so that when you finally join as a full-time employee after 45 days, you are all set to deliver. You already know the processes, you already have taken the KT, so that time will be saved. It will not be wasted. And you will see that more than often the company will say yes to this. If it is not any super sensitive kind of project where they do not want to have some independent consultant working on it, they will say yes. Now this point is really beautiful if it works out, but there is one little con here, one negative side of it. If in those 45 days when you're working as an independent contractor for the company, if the company do not like your work, I mean the speed or your attitude or the kind of work that you do, the deliverables, if the company do not like it, or because it's really bad, then after 45 days the company might revoke the offer, because by then they'll realize that this is not a good hire or a good fit for the role, so they might revoke that offer. So this is one thing. If you are not sure about your capabilities for that role, then you might want to stay away from this option. But for all those people who have faith in their abilities and who know that they are going to work it out, please go ahead and pitch this solution. It has no negatives other than that in it. So you can totally pitch yourself as an independent worker there. Now moving on to our next point, there can be situations where your current employer is not ready to relieve you otherwise, but they are okay you to pay and then leave. That might also be the case. And by this I mean is that if the notice period is of 90 days and you just serve 30 days, then you can pay for the rest of the 60 days to the company and then leave. Now what you can do in this case is you can ask or request your new employer to buy out your notice period. Now what will happen in this case is that you have to pay upfront from your own pocket, but once you reach in the new company will reimburse that amount to you. Now this also happens with a proper and legit way, that you have to show your full and final settlement or the payslip where it says that so much amount is deducted because of your notice period buyout. Only then the new company will pay it back to you. It doesn't happen like you said and they will believe that so much amount is deducted for the notice period buyout and then they pay you. It doesn't happen like that. There should be a proper documented proof that you get from your old company and show it to the new company, and then they can reimburse it to you. So that's notice period buyout. And also, if the new company says that it's not possible, we cannot reimburse you, try to pitch for partial buyout. That also happens, which means you say like 30 days notice you will bear and 30 days notice they can reimburse. Company might settle at that also. It's better than getting zero reimbursement. So there's no harm in checking. You can always check on this point. So guys, these were the steps, or you can say tips, to negotiate your notice period with both your new employer and your old employer. And I hope this video answers some of your questions, and if you still have any queries, put them in the comment section. I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities. And with that, I'm signing off. You keep on watching more content on the corporate diaries to be corporate ready, and I'll see you in my next video. Till then, stay safe and healthy. Take care. Bye.